Hi everyone, I am here at the entrance of Wonder Domes with the artist Eddie Chaffer, and I've talked a little bit about the Wonder Domes, but this is a place where Eddie and I are both staying with a few other artists to be with creative community over the winter. And we're sitting at the entrance because there's these two guardian figures that Eddie actually painted, which we'll talk a little bit about. But I wanted to set us up in front of these beautiful works of art. So I was wondering, Eddie, if you could just start by introducing yourself.
Yeah, I'm Eddie. I paint as Sun Visual. I'm a muralist and a community organizer from Grand Rapids, Michigan. And I have done enough winters in my lifetime, and so now I come out here to the desert. I've been a muralist full-time for 6 years now, and kind of did a lot of different art jobs before and during that time too. And I mostly paint around my own stuff. I do a lot of big walls all over the country, but my main thing that I've got going on recently is I run a environmental arts nonprofit where we do environmental education through public art. So it's called Pleasant Peninsula. It's based in Michigan, and we work with a bunch of environmental orgs to raise awareness through murals and community art projects and stuff like that.
Awesome, thank you. And yeah, could you just expand a little bit and tell us more about your own creative practice in general, and then maybe more specifically how you got into mural painting and public art?
Yeah, I, like a lot of folks, I guess I always say that everybody starts as an artist when they're a kid and everybody draws, and just the difference between people who are artists when they're grown-ups is that they just don't stop doing that. And so I've kind of been doing it forever, but I nowadays focus a lot of my energy on ecological topics and working in collaboration with scientists and conservationists and different environmental educators. So I spend a lot of time outside learning about the landscapes around me, and then once I feel like I kind of have a baseline understanding of where I'm at, then I can go out and actually find a scientist who knows what they're talking about and learn more from them. And I like to work with that way because we kind of get to both benefit from the situation, where I get to learn a lot from them, and hopefully through public art they get to communicate their research in a cool, accessible, super visible, super punk rock kind of way. I first got into murals kind of because of that accessibility thing, and before I started doing murals, I was having a total existential crisis about being too poor to go into an art museum.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was like, oh, I can't even go see all of this art that at the time I was like, I want to be in an art museum someday, but I couldn't even go in there unless it was like a free day or something. And so I was having this whole thing about whether it was inherently selfish to make art, or whether it was helpful for anything, or if it was just like some game for rich people to launder their money, which sometimes it is. But anyways, I ended up working with a muralist as an apprentice, just kind of because I happened to know this person in town. And his name's Dustin Hunt. He paints as Mural Maddox, and he's an amazing muralist in Lansing, Michigan. And Dustin taught me a lot about just like public art and the way that it can actually be situated in a neighborhood, and people don't have to pay any entrance fee to encounter it or adhere to any dress code. It's like the opposite of pretentious if it's done well. And so that's kind of why I got into it. Plus, I get to be outside all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. And that does kind of answer the next question I have. I don't know if you want to expand on it any further, but the next question was like, what do you enjoy personally about public art? I feel like you answered it. Do you want to add anything else to that?
Yeah, just like it really is something that can, I think, make a more immediate impact in a place if you're doing it intentionally. There's a dark side of public art where it can definitely accelerate or even cause gentrification. So you have to be careful about making sure that you're working with a neighborhood and not just showing up and doing what you want to do, and actually trying to collaborate with the people who do live there. And that's a whole thing. But when it's done well, I think that murals and public art can really engage a community or a neighborhood or just people who are passing through in a way that you'll never be able to get with it being inside a specific art museum or in really any context, because public art is just like in the normal everyday world.
Yeah.
Like you're just like going to get breakfast and you see this mural, and seeing that type of art in the context of just your day-to-day life makes you think about it differently than if you're going into an art museum and you're like, I have to put my art museum brain on and I have to put on a little outfit and blah blah blah. So that's what I like about it.
Yeah. Well, while we're on that, would you be able to tell us a little bit more specifically about these guardian figures that are guiding us into the Wonderdomes?
Yeah, these guys are kind of more a fun project for me. When I'm doing a wall, it's like, okay, I actually have to do a wall and I have to make sure that it gets approved by whoever the building is, and et cetera, et cetera. But for these, I just kind of had a fun, kooky idea where I was like, what if I painted some really tall guys? And our friend Lindsay, whose place this is always, for pretty much any zany idea that you have, is like, oh, you should do that. So these ones I made last year in January or February when the administration was still new and there was a lot of new stuff going on with trans rights being rolled back. And so these guys are like the sun and the moon to kind of illustrate how being trans is like a holy and natural thing. And I like to paint big, and so they are 12 feet tall. And I don't have any, like, whenever I try to paint something at normal size, I realize I don't even have any brushes that will fit that.
Oh.
So they're always big, and then I get in trouble because I don't have a place to put them. But that's why Lindsay is great.
Yeah.
Now they live here.
Yeah. And you painted them for the there's a music and arts festival, which I will share a little bit more about that with y'all later in the quarter, but a music and arts festival here called To Be Continued, and that was what you made them for, or that's where you originally displayed them?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they were at first on display at the bar / art, music and art venue, and then they brought them back over here, and now they live and guard the property.
Yeah.
Would you be able to tell us about any work of public art by another artist that you are currently interested in?
Yeah, I think that one that I come back to often is Diego Rivera's piece in the DIA, about the Detroit car industry. Oh, the DIA is the Detroit Institute of Art. And it's about like the Ford manufacturing plant, and it spans all four walls of this huge atrium in the museum, and it's all like fresco, and so it's like Diego Rivera's unique style where he blends a lot of his Mexican and his Aztec heritage with like the old masters type of fresco application. And you can really look at that piece for freaking forever because he fits so many things in there. And I love it as an example of how you can use your work to, even if you're trying to fulfill the wishes of a client, in this case the DIA, you can still use it as like a tool of political or cultural or environmental education, where as you keep looking at that piece, you're like, okay, cool, this is about the Ford plant and about industry. And then you start noticing things and you're like, oh, hold on, this guy was like super anti-capitalist. He is pulling in all of this like anti-white supremacy Aztec stuff, where one part of it has a piece of one of the industrial machines that was a stamp for one of the car parts. And the way that he depicted it is like it's a reference to this Aztec god of creation and destruction. And so he's like, yeah, this is the Ford plant, this is what we do in Detroit, but on the down low, once you know, it's like, oh my god, we're gonna blow ourselves up if we keep going down this road of like endless industrialization. So I love that mural because it's really so layered, and I feel like you learn a lot about Rivera's philosophy and also his own heritage and beliefs, while also learning about the history of Detroit. Yeah. So it's an amazing piece.
Wow, yeah. I haven't been there, so I haven't seen that yet, but I gotta check it out.
Yeah.
For sure. Wow, well, thank you, Eddie. Really appreciate you hanging out and sharing some of your work with us, and yeah, great to talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Good luck with the rest of the semester.